This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Hello, America. I'm Bob Joseph. Stand by for talk on Binghamton Now. WNBF. And it is Morning in America, Friday morning, October 25th, 2024. As we take to the air this morning, it is my honor and privilege to report the state of Binghamton is strong and getting stronger. It sure tis. 607-772-1290. We're here for you. And remember, this program is being broadcast in delightful mono for your entertainment. A little fog on our horizon here. It's dense in places, so if you're going to be traveling around the area over the next couple of hours, be prepared for slightly reduced visibilities at times, maybe even dramatically reduced visibilities. Be careful out there. And it should turn out to be a rather nice autumn day. So if you have big weekend plans, let me know. Maybe I'll join you. I'm kidding. I am not going to join you. Well, can't you come over and join us? We're having lamb speedies. Oh, lamb speedies. Okay. When do you want me there? I'll bring the macaroni salad. Let's take a call on this Friday morning. Good morning, you're caller number one. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, it's Gary from the Upper West Side. I would like to talk baseball. The Dodgers and the Yankees.
A great topic.
The World Series. Yeah, I mean, I'm from Brooklyn originally. My mother was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. My dad was a New York Giant fan. And I became a New York Met fan when they moved because I couldn't go for either one of those teams. So that's how that happens. But it's a great rivalry. It should be you've got some of the two best players in sports, Judge and Ohtani, going against each other. Some great pitching. It should be entertaining. Once, they get the news cycle in there from 6 o'clock to whenever 8, and then you can watch sports for the rest of the night. And that would be good. I know the Mets aren't in or the Red Sox. That's sad for us. But it'll just be entertaining to get our minds off of things. Isn't that what sports all about, Bob? It's just getting your mind off of things, basically.
Yes, it is.
Pretty much. That's
the whole reason to have sports, and that's why I am a very big sports fan.
Me too. We all have things in our lives that could drag us down, and it's just good to have something to project somewhere else. Oh, and I'd be amiss to mention, it was really good to hear Ron yesterday. Thank you for sharing that, Ron, too. I think that's very important. Mental health is a very big issue in this country. And, I'm glad you're on the upswing of that. And it was just very glad to hear you again. We all wondered about you. So thanks for calling back in.
It was. It was a call I had been waiting for. And I'll say if there was one high point of the week, that wasn't the only bright spot of the week on the program, but that was, to me, that was the brightest spot on the program this week, maybe this month. And it was powerful. It's one of the more powerful calls that we've had.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things to actually hear from someone who has been part of the extended family who had been away for too long. So we were gratified. I mean, I don't, as though I speak for everyone, but on behalf of myself, but also the feedback we received after he called, it was really good.
Yeah, when someone is a constant caller and then you don't hear him, you wonder, geez, what happened? We're all older, Bob, and, our thoughts might go that way. And, geez, hope he's okay. Hope he doesn't have a serious illness, that type of stuff. And so it's good to know. Well,
and some people just voluntarily opt out, and which is okay, too. I mean,
yes.
I have occasionally encountered people, say, off the air. Maybe they call in not to be on the broadcast, but say, yeah, I'm just not calling. I'm still listening, and I still like WNBF, and just because I'm not contributing every day, don't infer I don't like the program. Sometimes people just kind of think, well, let's take a couple steps back and not participate. So, and that's everybody has to make a choice that's best for them in their circumstances, and I know circumstances can change, but and
they do.
And I know, look, we've been doing the program now. It's really
How
hard.
many years?
Well, officially, nearly 14. I mean, it's been actually over 14 when you consider that I started filling in, and we didn't start calling it Binghamton Now till about 14 years ago. But actually, I've been pretty much in this slot when we were transitioning after talk with Tony could not continue. And so I was filling in at first, expecting it to be temporary, and then, well, everything is temporary. I'm here temporarily. I don't know if I'm here for another 2 hours and 43 minutes or if I'm going to be here for another 22 years. Hopefully I'll be here for a long, long time to come because I really enjoy this. But everything is temporary.
Well, if you can do the things that you enjoy in life, that makes a big difference in things.
Yep.
It really does. Young kids getting started today, it's not all about the money. We have one life to live. Enjoy yourself while you do it, right? That's the key to life.
Well, one of the things that I keep in mind so much is just timing and luck. I was born at the right time. If I was born today, I would not pursue a career in radio. If I was born today, I doubt I would pursue a career in journalism. Not because...
Really? I don't know.
Well, because, unfortunately, look at what's left. The smoldering remains of a once proud journalistic infrastructure. I'm not saying it's going to change.
It has changed. Right?
Well, yeah, and so there's not much left. I'm not saying it's hopeless. Maybe it'll be rebuilt, but it's not happening yet.
Yeah, we have to accept change. Podcasts, that's right now. That's the future, and that'll change eventually. It'll be something else, but a lot more people are going that way, right?
But the thing about podcasts is there can be an infinite number of podcasts with nearly 8 billion people on the planet. So, and who's to say? No one's limited. People could do more than one podcast. So, probably in the next year or so, there will be billions of podcasts, and usually for most of them between 0 and 3 listeners. You can't monetize most podcasts. There are clearly some exceptions. Joe Rogan.
Right.
Joe Rogan has turned the podcast.
Lex Friedman is another guy.
Yeah, there are a few dozen people who are making a living at it, and only, I don't know, out of a few dozen, I don't know how many of them are making a good living at it. Joe Rogan is doing well, and a few other notables, but how long is that going to last?
Well, you know what you get from podcasts, Bob? You get to ask questions that like the NBC, ABC, they don't ask because they can't ask. And so that's what's interesting to me.
Oh, it is.
About podcasts.
No, that's one of the things that I think is great. You know, I listen to a handful of podcasts, none on a regular basis. I'm very selective. For some reason, I don't seem to have as much time on any given day to listen to podcast every day. I mean, there are several that are very, very good, and there's some that are decent, and then there's some that I hate to say they're poor because, you know, that's, hey, whatever you're looking for. There's something now in the world of podcasts that will serve you, you know, no matter what the topic is. So.
I like video podcasts myself. I don't know. I can seem to concentrate better, you know.
Oh, like say if I was doing a podcast to have a camera so you could see me. Well, you know, that's an interesting thing. And we do our program, for those who are unaware, our program is available. We call it a podcast or whatever, or radio on demand. You can hear it later on the replay on our website. But
unedited?
Mostly unedited. Slight editing.
Mostly. Oh, slight editing. Okay.
Judicious editing.
Okay. All right.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, well, what do you mean by that? I don't know. Listen. Compare. What I say is listen live and then listen to the replay, and then you know what I mean by judicious editing. One important thing for those who are pressed for time, and by the way, I don't want to discourage people from listening to the program in real time, 3 full hours every morning, but say, if you are pressed for time, the version that's available on our website can be listened to in less time. So, you know, if you think every minute is precious, you could save a few precious minutes by listening to it later, but it's still, let me be perfectly clear, there's something way, way different, in my opinion, from listening to a program in real time versus listening to it later, whether you're listening to it a few hours later or a few days later. Nothing wrong with it, but it's a totally different experience.
Hey, you know what I saw on the TV today? And don't ask me for the details, but I think it was overseas. It might have been in Europe, Bob, that they're replacing the whole radio.
Oh, yeah, a Polish station. I saw that this morning.
Oh, it was a Polish station?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that. I actually forgot. And, yeah, actually it was on a radio industry, a message board, which I don't check first thing every morning, but I happened to check it out this morning and saw that. Needless to say, on a radio message board filled with some current and a lot of former broadcasters, including news people, the initial reaction wasn't good.
Boy, I don't know how that's going to work out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just popped up the story. I see it's on several websites. We'll talk about that coming right up, because I know I have a few thoughts, and then I'm going to throw it out there, actually. I think that would be a good question of the day, what people think about the future of news. Right now, radio news, but in the end, it would be TV news, too. If it's turned over to AI presenters. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Or do you think that if used with care, that it could be advantageous? So we'll talk about that.
I agree with your last statement. I agree with your last statement. So,
well, if used with care?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I think it might be. Just because I think it might be a little more fair and balanced. I mean, look, this show right here is fair and balanced. Let me just say that right away. If you look at, the networks, not fair and balanced, but will it bring it to that?
Depends
on who's controlling.
Well, most importantly, yes, it depends who's controlling, but most importantly, it'll depend on what will make them the most money. So if having something that is truly fair and balanced, and I don't mean to appropriate the former Fox News slogan, which they no longer use, but if it was really, really fair and balanced, would they actually make more money than if it was leaning right or leaning left? And I got to tell you,
good point.
I got to tell you, based on my knowledge of the industry, radio and TV, and even websites, they're not going to make as much money if it's non-controversial, just the facts, just like Jack Webb presentation or Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am, isn't going to maximize your profit. That's why, and people can gnash their teeth and wring their hands about cable channels like Fox News or MSNBC and say, oh, Fox News is always right and conservative, or MSNBC is always left and liberal. And, guilty as charged, but there's a reason for that. It's not because the corporate bean counters lean one way or the other, necessarily. I mean, obviously, people know generally Rupert Murdoch's leanings, but still it has mostly to do with how much money you can make. You target an audience, and that's what Fox News did starting in 1996, and they've been doing this with precision for nearly 3 decades, targeting what has been viewed by some as the underserved and underappreciated conservative audience in America, and they never deviated from their mission. And that is why they're number one. And that is why they make so much money. And that's why if they only operate with care and stop telling lies and stop having to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars for telling lies about alleged election fraud like they did in that one case, they could make billions. They could make billions. Remember, Fox News Channel. I
got to go. I got somebody here.
Oh, okay.
Dodgers in 6.
All right.
And I'm voting for Bernie Sanders. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Oh, my gosh. We'll talk about the radio station that has just fired all of its journalists and replaced them with AI presenters. That's next. Here on WNBF with a real live presenter, Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now. It's WNBF Live with Bob Joseph. I have yet to be replaced by AI, but I'm sure they're desperately working on it, and I commend them for their cost-cutting efforts. Speaking of that, a station in Poland has generated controversy because they decided, let's fire all of our journalists. Let's get rid of them. Who wants those pesky journalists who all they do is ask questions? Why don't we replace the reporters and the host with AI? So that's what a radio station in Poland has done, stirring up controversy, relaunching channel in a new version that's run almost completely by artificial intelligence. The people who previously worked on the channel, called Radio Krakow, have criticized the move. Of course, they're probably bitter and disgusted because they lost their jobs to AI. Station managers said cooperation with them would have been terminated regardless of the AI decision because the channel had previously been unsuccessful. So now this station in Poland is presenting stuff using just AI. After all, who really wants people to get involved with your radio program or your news? People, that's so 20th century. Down with people, up with AI. I read that because it's on my teleprompter, which they ordered me to. I'm kidding. Kidding. Anyway, we'll talk more about that as our program continues. The promise of artificial intelligence. Fortunately, WNBF is still being powered by natural intelligence by a guy who was actually born here just a little bit down the road there, down at that hospital on Riverside Drive. You've probably seen it.
Oh.
You know that hospital?
Of course,
yeah.
Lords.
Guthrie
Well,
Lords.
Guthrie now.
Yeah.
Guthrie, yes, I'm old school.
Yeah. I still call it Lords, but that's, because I have a personal connection. Every time I go by there, I say, well, that's where it all began,
Lords.
Well, just a few years ago. Anyway, we're joined now in the studio by Binghamton City Councilwoman Kenya Middleton, and welcome back to our station.
Hi, Bob. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. Well, you wrote a note and said, can you come in? And I said, yeah, we have an open door policy.
Thank you so much.
For all members.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm actually excited. We just finished up our budget hearings, and so it's been a lot, just our first year coming inside of City Council, just navigating through something that's new to every single one of us that's on City Council. So I'm grateful to be here this morning. Thank you so much.
And did council make lots and lots of changes to Mayor Cram's budget proposal?
We made some. I think the great thing about government is that there are checks and balances, and that even though we're all mostly on the same party, we all have different views. So it's good to have these conversations. So we made some, but we did what was best. We thought is what we think is best. Excuse me.
Yeah, and the mayor was here a week ago talking a little bit about the budget process up to that point, although some modest changes had been voted on during the process. He said there, at least up to that point, no major changes. Seemed to him, based on where things were going, that the review process was going along quite smoothly.
Yes. I mean, I think with anything, you have to ask questions, and that's what we all did with anything that's presented. We asked questions from different angles, from different perspectives, and the great thing about it is that there are great people down at City Hall that really handle their budget, and they know what they're doing and they know what they're asking for. So we're just here to kind of help them along the way. And if we can add or make cuts, that's what we try to do. After every person presents, I always ask them if there's something that they asked in the budget that they couldn't get or they didn't get, because we want to know how we can help them and the people of Binghamton run smoothly.
How are things going in the district you represent? You represent the 2nd District. Tell our listeners the general area of the 2nd District.
Yes. So I represent the 2nd District. So it's after the Arch. The Arch is not there anymore. Yeah. But so it's after the Arch until a block or two after Rec Park. So it's like Millard, I think, is the last block. Up and down Main Street, I represent the 2nd District.
So you are proud to have recreation park in your district.
I am. I love the West Side. My kids, my daughter goes to Thomas Jefferson, and my other daughter attends Binghamton High School. So I'm a West Sider. I love it. I love the people. I love the atmosphere. It's a really nice and great place.
Did you see they put up the statue for Rod Sterling?
I was there.
I thought I saw you there at the dedication.
It was so hot that day. Like, wasn't it so hot? It was a hot day. So I was there, though. It's great to have that there, just to have someone that lived in this community bring that back to us. So it was a great event and a great time.
Well, it was so hot. When I was taking pictures and video of all the people speaking before the statue was finally unveiled, it got so hot that my little camera here on my phone, it overheated. So when they finally got to the point, because so many people had a few words to say before the statue was revealed, then when it finally got to the point where they could show us what the statue finally looked like, my camera had overheated, so I couldn't.
It was really out of this world. It was really hot. I think, like, when you get older, the heat just, it doesn't sit well the same as it used to. That day I was like, whoa. But I was so excited to see so many people, and just to have, our Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo really work on bringing that statue to us.
Well, everybody, it seemed to be
a collective, yes, it was amazing.
A citywide,
family, yes.
Citywide celebration.
Yes.
And it was not political, because you had people from all different political backgrounds and worldviews. And in addition to that, a lot of people who were in Binghamton for Sterling Fest. So people who actually came to our community for a few days to celebrate the legacy of Rod Serling, and that was the high point of their weekend.
Yes, and also to see beautiful Rec Park, too. So, yeah.
And I was just there a few days ago. I decided, when was it, Monday? It was so beautiful. And I said, you know what I need is a Speedy, and I'm going to go over to Rec Park, and it was 5:15, and we still have about an hour of daylight left, and it was great seeing you got people walking and jogging on the paved trails in the park. You have people just walking through the tree area on the northern end of the park, and so many kids playing at the special playground. And it was just, and the thing I didn't notice until after I left, there were dozens of people playing tennis on the tennis courts.
Aren't those tennis courts nice?
Beautiful.
They're very beautiful, yes. Very, very nice.
Talking with Kenya Middleton, 2nd District City Council representative here in Binghamton. What else is on your mind today?
Oh, well, I thank you so much for asking. I actually came to stop by just to talk about flipping over the ballot. So just a little bit about that. It's Proposition 2. I guess we start, I think tomorrow starts early voting. So I just wanted to give people just some information about Proposition 2 and what it is about. In 2001, the Binghamton City Council, they passed legislation for a Human Rights Commission. And so during that time, these commissions they're recommended by the state to kind of help with local issues that we may have that the state can't really handle locally. So this was established in 2011. And then in 2016, the mayor at the time and the city council at the time changed the appointment process. So it used to be, the appointment process used to be some of the mayor's appointees and some of city council's appointees. But then in 2016, they had it just only as a mayor appointees. So after that, it just sat vacant all this time. So it hasn't been active. So this year we voted on that to change it, the appointment style, which is going to be 4 members from the mayor and 4 members. 4 members from us, and then the mayor will be able to appoint 3. And just to ensure that we have that, and to make sure that we have different sides of things, and excuse me, and to make sure that we maintain it. Our corporation council told us that in order to change this back, we'd have to have it on the ballot to do so because it's a change in the charter. So that's basically what I'm here about today.
So it's interesting that here we are on the eve of early voting, and also less than 2 weeks before Election Day, and I'm willing to venture virtually everybody in Binghamton is unaware that this is even an option this year.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I came today, because I want people to be aware of human rights and what it is that protects human rights of people in Binghamton. This commission is a local resource for people to take their concerns and the burdens off state agencies. Not only that, it's educational resources for residents, businesses, legislators, and nonprofits to protect human rights. It provides assistance and referrals to residents, for local residents and state, for local resources and state resources. And it's a safe space. I think a lot of the time, a lot of the time people think that they don't have a place to go if something happens. And this way, this Human Rights Commission is setting up a system for people to do that. If there are any grievances, if there's anything that they think their human rights may have been violated, we're going to have a board, so that way it'll give the proper channels and proper steps to go through their grievance.
So, in your opinion, then, just by the fact that you're here talking about it, obviously you think this is something that could make a difference for the people of Binghamton. How big a difference could that make in your view if this is approved by voters in the city?
A big difference. Human rights abuse is very serious and it deserves attention. I am a woman of color, and I can honestly say, and so many things that I have personally been through that I can't even talk about. And I think a lot of the times people who may be in different circumstances than me that have been through discrimination or their human rights violated, they don't have people to talk to. And I think this is a great commission and a great outlet to help people.
Do you think some people in the, we'll say positions of power right now are hoping this doesn't pass and are hoping that things remain the same as they are right now in Binghamton?
Well, I honestly, I don't think people think like that. I would hope, actually, I'm not going to say I don't think. I would hope people don't think like that. The world is changing and we are all different and we have to accept that. And if there are people in power who think like this and believe like this, then it's shame on them because they're processing negative thoughts and hate.
So, and I admit, I didn't follow this earlier this year. Tell me a bit about the process on City Council that went into clearing the way for this proposition to be on the ballot.
Oh, sure. November. So, it was brought to, that's one of the things, and when we when we all were elected to City Council, that's one of the things that we were strongly about. One of the things we advocated for was to make sure that we care about the people of Binghamton and take care of them. When I first started, I've had calls of people, complaining about issues, but we don't have a proper channel to kind of mitigate that. Like someone can say like something happened, but there isn't a way to kind of, go through a channel to help them out. So this is kind of how that was brought about on City Council, and it was brought into legislation and it was voted on. So, and it passed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, from the feedback that you're getting, what's your sense? I mean, and now that you're on the program, a lot more people are aware that this is something they need to consider and
yes.
not overlook. Because one of the things about propositions, as you know, especially
people don't turn over.
Yeah,
they definitely don't.
This year they may be inclined to turn over the ballot because of the state proposition. Yes. Number one, that's getting quite a bit of attention, as you've heard.
Of course,
but even then, I mean, we're in a presidential year, and I know some people. Not all, in fact, not most of my acquaintances, but I do know a few people, they only vote during presidential years, and they only seem to be motivated just, say, by the top race, and then they don't pay attention to local races and propositions. So it just seems to me a lot of times people sort of, I'm saying this figuratively, not literally, stumble into the polling place and say, all right, I know I'm going to vote for this person for president and I'm done. And they hand in their ballot or put it into the machine and say, that's all there is that's important. But as always with local elections plus propositions, there is more to consider.
It definitely, it makes me sad how many people don't vote after the presidential election. I always say that local elections are the way we can control our lives daily, and it starts locally. So I encourage everyone, even though more people will vote in this election, I encourage everyone to vote in every single election. Especially if you're passionate about something, it is always good to make sure that the people who are locally can advocate for you.
Anything else you wanted to add?
I just, like I said again, flip over the ballot, vote yes to Proposition 1 and 2. I would say it's very serious that we really take care of each other and and make sure that people are okay. And I think the Human Rights Commission is just a start to what can be done in the city of Binghamton.
And you don't think people are lobbying against it?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, there might be some people lobbying against it. I don't know, but to me, my job is to make sure that I am speaking positively about it. So if people are lobbying against it, that is fine with me, Bob. But I know that every single person on city council, we care about the city of Binghamton. One of the reasons why we were elected, we want equal rights and human rights for all. So if they are, then that's really on them.
By the way, how are things going with city council? You've got 6 Democrats, and then Michael Costi became the 6th district representative. He's a Republican, and he's not running. What happens, in your view, if say, starting in 2025, then city council potentially could be all Democrats working with Republican Mayor Jared Graham? What happens then?
I think it'll be the same. I don't think there will be any difference. I think that we locally get caught up in party lines, and we shouldn't, because it is too small. We're not in a major city. We are in a local city. There's absolutely no reason why we cannot all work together. It's literally the party lines. Now, there are certain things that I will not agree with. That I will disagree with, and that is, racism and human rights mistreatment. But I think majority of the time we can all find a common ground to get along.
It just occurred to me, isn't Jared Graham one of your constituents in the 2nd district?
He is.
So he represents you, and you represent him.
That's it. See, I told you. What did I tell you? I tell you it's too small not to, we're all connected. Yeah. It's one of those things where you can't really, this is not, federal politics. This is local politics, and there's no reason why we can't all find a common ground to work together.
Binghamton City Councilwoman Kenya Middleton, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said again, please turn around the ballot, flip the ballot, and vote yes on Prop 2 and 1. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. It's 9:52. You're listening to Binghamton Now, live and local at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Stay connected using the free WNBF app.
The best.
And let's take a look at the forecast. Shall we? I think we shall. Looks good to me. Increasing clouds today. There's still some patchy fog around the area in the Happy Valley. High 59 tonight, cloudy. A slight chance of showers, low 46. Tomorrow, partly sunny. The chance of showers, high 56, and sunny on Sunday, high 53. Right now, 36. That's 2 Celsius. And the air quality is good. Air quality index is 41 in Binghamton, AQI. Stay tuned. More information ahead. Live and local. Binghamton Now. WNBF. And Binghamton Now is capable of focusing on Binghamton and beyond. Right now, we turn our attention to the town of Union. And we're pleased to have in the studio Town Supervisor Rob Mack. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Bob. Always a pleasure.
Let's talk first. This is about something that we had previously talked about on a show a few months ago, but because it's well underway and I finally did a story, I think since the last time you were here, that Spec House up there off Taft Avenue. I went up there one day because I thought, well, Mr. Mack had mentioned a few weeks ago that this was going to happen, so I should go and see how the project is coming along. And I was actually amazed to see how much work had been done on the Spec House that's being built by Michael Malarkey up there at Taft Avenue and O'Day Drive. And one of the points you made when you were on the program during the summer is this is something not only unusual for the town of Union, it's fairly unusual here for Broome County.
Yeah, it's as I spoke about in the summer, I was very excited. I believe it was the first spec house since 2008 in the town of Union, which is incredible to me that we haven't had developers taking a chance by building properties that aren't already sold or building out new homes. So very excited. The project's going well. I have not been up there lately myself, but every now and then Mr. Malarkey gives me a thumbs up when I ask him or text him on how things are going. So I do need to reach out and make sure that it's still on track, but he was moving right along last time I was up there.
Yeah, I popped up there. Looks like it was October 2nd, and
okay.
Yeah, he was busy. I just thought I would go up there and see like they had cleared the lot, and here already, let's say 75% or more of the basic structure was in place. So he and his workers had moved quickly. The other thing I thought was interesting, he was actually doing the work. He's, I come up there, hey, I want to check out the spec house. And he was pleased that somebody was showing an interest. Yeah. Because, again, the whole point about a spec house, this is being built without a buyer already lined up. And that's one of the things that makes it rare these days, because most builders, if they're going to invest a fair amount of money and time in a residential structure, they want to make sure that somebody is going to buy it. But it shows that, in this case, Mr. Malarkey is confident. He told me, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have no problem finding someone who will buy this first house. And then, as you mentioned, because there is other property nearby, this could potentially be the start of a significant development there in that part of the town of Union.
Absolutely. He has 35 acres basically behind that property. It kind of goes up behind the Taft Ave fire station. And it is in the Main Endwell School District. And so it's very possible that we're going to start seeing some more building up there and some more development, which we know in Broome County, we're somewheres shy of 6,000 places for people to live. And that is across all income spectrums. Low income, moderate income, high income. The housing, we have a real housing crisis here in Broome County. And we need people to come in and take chances and build new housing at all income levels.
Not far from that site on Taft Avenue, going just a little bit to the east on Hooper Road, there is also activity getting underway on a project I've been following for a few years. Initially, it was going to be potentially a 115-unit apartment complex next door to the Marion Apartments, across the street from Main Endwell Senior High School on Hooper Road. Well, they scaled back. CDS Housing, based in the Rochester area, did scale back its original plan. So they are in the process of constructing an 80-unit.
83 units, I believe.
83, yeah.
Yep.
So, and this, I was over there just a week and a half ago as one of the guys from the contractor, Krista Construction. They're based in Rochester. He was getting some things set up. Yeah. He said, we're ready. We're ready to start moving dirt, and we're going to be working all the way through winter. He said they're all systems are go to build that new project.
Yeah, we're excited to get that project off the ground. As you know, we've been talking about it for a number of years. The SEP group is going to manage it for us, which is the same group that manages several of the old schools that have been transformed into housing for over 55 crowd, and the Marion Apartments there that have been there they were the first one in town, probably, got to be almost 40 years ago that building went up, and a good building. As I've said before, the more of this type of housing we build for over 55 folks, we're hoping that they consider moving out of their home that maybe they've been in a long time, and those homes are going to go on the market, and young people are going to get a chance to buy some of these older homes and fix them up and start getting roots in the community and building equity in their homes, in their lives.
Has potential then to reinvigorate some of the older neighborhoods that were basically established by, say, people with families. Maybe they were working for IBM or Endicott Johnson or Link, or going back to the 70s and 80s when a lot of those companies were really big around here. So it could be a reinvention of some of the neighborhoods throughout the town of Union and elsewhere in Broome County.
That's our hopes. The only other thing I'll mention is a lot of these projects are being funded partially by large grants from New York State. And my only criticism is that right now the state is 100% focused on low income or elderly housing. And we have developers who want to put up moderate and even high income housing, like a 50 Front Street, we'll say, as an example, in other areas of the town. And because there's no grant money at all from the state, they're all going after the same type of housing, which offers that grant money. So I really wish we could get our state leaders to think about offering some of their grant and incentive money across the board, because we don't just need one type of housing. We need all types of housing in Broome County and in the town of Union.
Our guest is Town of Union Supervisor Robert Mack. It's 10:18 here on WNBF. We're live and local on a Friday morning. Well, speaking of housing, and we touch on this usually about every time you're here, the project at the old IBM Country Club site on Watson Boulevard, and just a little bit to the east of the Fairmount Park section of the town. Well, obviously, they were hoping, the developers, Conifer and LaChase, I believe, were hoping to get approval through one of the state grant programs. And as you and other local officials have pointed out, state typically is only going to approve maybe a couple of projects, say, for the Binghamton area per year or per cycle. They're not, say, if there are multiple applications for housing projects or apartment complexes, it's not likely they're going to approve 2 or 3 simultaneously for this region. So right now, the 72-unit apartment complex that was talked about at the old IBM Country Club site is, let's say, on hold. At this point, we don't know. I understand IDA, I think, has given the developers maybe a 6-month extension.
Yes, the IDA has given them a 6-month extension to reapply for grant money. Those grants will not be announced until usually late spring. And so the IDA did extend the contract from December 31st, 2024 to, I believe, June, the end of June 2025, to see if that grant does go through. I personally was not on the board when that project was initially dreamed up, and I don't believe that is a great place for that housing. To me, that part of Watson Boulevard is it has no sidewalks. It does not have aprons. It's a road that folks travel pretty quickly on, and I think putting a complex right on the road with children is not a great idea. Now, in Fairmount Park, the project worked really well because they're neighborhoods, they're streets, they're low traffic areas, and kids can ride bikes and skateboards and be kids. But right on Watson Boulevard there, I do have concerns. We'll see what happens with the next grant applications. But if it doesn't go through, I'm hoping maybe some developers will take a look at that property and consider maybe a little different housing there. Again, I envision a 50 Front Street. I mean, who wouldn't want to live on a golf course? And a minute from Wegmans, a minute from the mall, right in, the heart of the town of Union.
And there is another housing project, and this is actually in the village of Johnson City, which is made up, or part of the town of Union. That's at Oakdale Commons. That was one of the components that was announced a few months ago, along with some of the other enhancements that are going on at Oakdale Commons. So if you look at it, just right now with the housing projects we've touched on, multi-unit and even the spec house. So there is a fair amount of activity underway within the town of Union as we approach the end of 2024, trying to find some ways to address the housing issues, the housing problem.
Yes, and between the mall, actually the town we have a lot going on. We have these new housing units going in, proposed housing units going in, lots of applications. We have another one on Endicott up at the St. Ambrose, the old St. Ambrose school, that SEP is also working on or trying to get funding for, again, being put off into the next year because they did not get the funding for 2024. As you know, we have multiple solar projects coming in. We have a lot of good things happening in the town, and it's refreshing to see after a number of years of disappointing closures and things not happening.
So you touched on something that I've been wanting to update in a while. Last story I think I did was last December. It was that possible apartment complex behind St. Ambrose Church in Endicott. I just happened to be there last night, but don't tell anybody. It was, we'll just say it was fun, but it had nothing to do with apartments. But as I left last night, I'm thinking, well, I wonder if that project that SEP had been hoping for, because we did talk about the hope that SEP, or the plan that SEP would acquire the old gymnasium on the east side of the church, behind the church. And John Bernardo, the executive director of the SEP group last December, had said the agency had the property under contract for the proposed apartment complex. He was talking about 40 one-bedroom units. So to the best of your knowledge, is that still something they're hoping to pursue?
It is still on the list for the SEP group. They are reapplying for their grants. There is some money from the town that was available through the ARPA grants and also from the county. That money is in jeopardy because we have to have that money allocated to a solid project by December 31st this year. So right now, that funding, at least from the town of Union, is being taken off the table for the SEP group, unfortunately, because we will not know if they get the rest of the grant money until after the first of the year. If the town didn't pull it off the table, we would literally have to send that back to the federal government and start sending it back on January 1st. And we're not going to do that. So we are going to pull that funding and put it to another project that will be eligible for that funding. And then next year, after the SEP group reapplies, we are going to look at possibly CDBG or other types of funding to help them with that project if it does get approved in the spring.
So has it been determined then what that ARPA funding, the remaining ARPA funding, will be used for? Does the town know what it's going to allocate the rest of that federal money to?
We have a number of projects on the table, and we will be redirecting that money towards infrastructure projects that are eligible for that funding. And we have that in the process right now as we speak.
About how much money is that?
$445,000.
And just because I've been wondering about the St. Ambrose, I'll call it the St. Ambrose project, since it's involves part of the church's property, not the main church, but the old gymnasium on the east side. Some people have said there may be concerns about adequate parking. Do you know? And I'll also probably pose this to Mayor Nick Burlingame when he's on the program. We'll have him on soon. But have you heard whether parking may pose a big hurdle for that proposed apartment project?
I have not, but Endicott has a lot of parking. We were just having a conversation last night. I was at the Mercy House Gala fundraiser. And we were having a conversation about the fact that the new Washington Avenue we're hoping, one is going to be less parking spots, because you really don't want people parking on your main street if possible. And if you want to close down the street for bringing, in the good weather, restaurants out where they can bring tables out and have people walking and have street festivals on weekends and things like that, you want to get people parking behind the merchants on Washington Ave. And we know there are plenty of parking on both sides of that road or that of Main Street. So really hoping that more of those lots become accessible and are available to folks who want to use downtown Endicott.
It's 10:27. We're talking about the town of Union this hour with Town Supervisor Rob Mack on WNBF. More coming up. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online at WNBF.com. Plenty to talk about with the town of Union and Broome County. One thing that we discussed with Town of Union Supervisor Robert Mack on one of our previous conversations was the future of buses, electric buses, transit buses, and of course one thing that people may not completely realize, one of the technology leaders for electric buses is in the town of Union with BAE Systems. And never let it be forgotten that the actual BAE Systems bus headquarters, their hybrid drive, is actually in the town of Union on Hayes Avenue, just over, probably just a few yards from the line in the village of Endicott. But BAE Systems has been working a lot on the propulsion systems for buses and other vehicles. So it's anything having to do with the future of electric buses is kind of important. And actually, it was an issue that came up recently at a meeting of the local transportation planning group.
That's correct.
BMTS.
That's correct. As you know, I'm a member of the BMTS, as all supervisors and town and village leaders are. And, I love when I get an education. My mother always used to say, it's a sad day when you don't learn something. And I have to say she was absolutely right. Recently, the county had a proposal to buy 7 brand new transit buses with a large portion of that funding to come from a federal grant. Well, I will tell you there were 3 very strong opponents to that proposal. Myself, Mayor Maney from the village of Johnson City, and Mike Marinaccio from the town of Dickinson. And so the county asked us to come to a special meeting, and the Commissioner of Public Transportation, Greg Kilmer, which if he has not been on your show, Bob, make the phone call and bring him on.
He's been on, but it's been years since the last time he was on, so I've been meaning to have him on.
It would be great because he gave us a wonderful education on the difference between electric school buses and transit buses. Our resistance to this, supporting this project, was what we were hearing about school buses and the problems Johnson City schools were having with a particular electric bus that was only lasting a couple hours in the winter and so forth. But the transit bus technology has really come a long way in the last 10 years. We were educated and we were explained how even the battery packs on transit buses are in temperature controlled containers. They never get over or above or below a certain temperature. So the battery life is not affected by hot or cold weather, which on school buses so far, that technology has not been refined. Also, transit buses are made to basically be on the road 18 hours nonstop a day. And the regenerative technology is become so efficient that when they go up a hill, like Mill Hill in Binghamton, when they come back down, they get 98% of the electricity back in their battery just from coming down that hill, using their brakes and the drive system, recharging the system. So by the time Greg was done speaking with us and telling us, educating us, we all went to a unanimous vote in favor of the county going for this project. We were happy to support it, and all of the three naysayers, we were more than, and there may have been more, I don't know, but we all changed our votes, and we were very happy to support it. And it was a good thing, and I was happy for that education from Mr. Kilmer.
So ultimately, then, what does the county plan to do as it moves forward, trying to adapt more of this new technology? Well,
they are planning to go to a point where eventually they'll be all either electric or hybrid. The NYSEG, as we talked about once before, is putting more electric charging capability into their facility over off of Old Vestal Road. So that will be taken care of within a year or two when the new substation is built. And we gave approval for the county to go ahead and purchase the 7 buses on the federal grant, which I believe it was a 90% paid for by the federal government and only a 10% purchase by Broome County taxpayers, which is a great deal.
Over the past, one of the things that I've noted, and some of our listeners point out, there is, at least in the original purchase price of a transit vehicle, there's a substantial difference in price. People would say, well, you could get, and I'm throwing out numbers here that may be inaccurate, but we'll say you could get, say, a so-called regular old bus, diesel fueled or whatever, for $250,000 or $300,000, or you could get one of these hybrid vehicles for $500,000 or more.
I think they're close to $1 million.
Yes, and I know sometimes people said, wow, that's a whole lot of money to be spending and getting only, say, 3 or 4 new vehicles at a time for a price where you might be able to buy 2 or 3 times the number of traditionally fueled vehicles.
What's going on also that people don't understand, or I didn't understand, is the push for hybrid and electric vehicles. The manufacturers have retooled, and that's all they're offering. To get a diesel pusher right now, you could be waiting 2 or 3 years because they've changed their production and their focus is completely on hybrid and electric. So good luck getting new diesels right now, because their production is maybe 10% of what they're building is the older fashioned gas vehicles or diesel vehicles. We see that in the town. We're struggling terribly to get snowplows and garbage trucks, and the backlog is 2 and 3 years to get these vehicles. It's very, very difficult.
Speaking of emerging technology and the future of batteries, IM3 New York. Now that's in the town of Union, village of Endicott. Yep. And sadly, we reported several days ago, apparently the company is in such dire straits, they laid off virtually all their employees. And it appears that, at least for the moment, the promise and the hopes that so many people had for this enterprise and a gigafactory that was announced with such hoopla by Andrew Cuomo in 2018, at least at the moment, things don't look good.
No, it's very sad, too. We've been hearing rumors for quite a while at the town that the company was struggling, and that there weren't really producing anything for the market that was sellable at this time, and that some of the funding that was promised and some of the investors that were promised haven't come through. So the company has basically run out of money to keep going. It's very sad. I'm hoping it's not over. I'm hoping it gets revived. Just a few weeks ago, I was in contact with the company, and they were offering on a grant some experimental battery storage packs, and they were looking for infrastructure that they would donate them to, and we would put them on critical infrastructure buildings. I had actually brought it to UHS for conversation, and the conversation didn't go far with last week's announcement.
So, are you just holding your breath? What do you think at this point? What's your gut feeling?
Right now, I think unless Mr. Schumer or the state comes in with some type of rescue plan, I don't see it happening.
It's 10:40. We're talking with Town of Union Supervisor Rob Mack. The fabulous Gowdy Station. What's ahead? We'll talk about that. Well, this is called a tease. We'll talk about that next.
Got it.
Oh, I'm keeping my finger crossed on this one. Gowdy Station. Oh, and the also neighboring property, 600 Main Street. What's ahead for the Westover area of the Town of Union? That's coming right up on Binghamton Now. Westover. We have so many hopes and dreams for Westover, and we'll see what happens. One thing we can say that is likely to happen, I think, fairly soon. First off, the 600 Main Street property, most recently used by BAE Systems prior to the flooding in September 2011. The old building, which was owned by the federal government, Air Force Plant 59, finally was torn down because it was damaged so much by the flood. As we've been discussing, the latest plan is to elevate a significant portion of that property, so it might be put into some future use. Where do things stand with that project?
The IDA has recently issued RFQs for that property to get some contractors get pricing for starting to get that site shovel ready for development. Stacy Duncan told us a couple weeks ago at a supervisors and town leader update meeting that was in the works. I have not heard whether or not they got an acceptable bid yet, but they have put out the request for bids to start that project.
So the bidding process is underway. Does that lead you to believe then that work at the site might start in the spring?
I would say that's a reasonable bet.
And now, Gowdy Station. We still call it Gowdy Station, even though it hasn't been Gowdy and hasn't been owned by NYSEG in many years, but it still is a super fun site, still contaminated, and still a good portion of what had been a coal-fired generating plant for decades. It still remains on the site. What's the latest?
Well, again, this is not confirmed, but I did receive a phone call a week or two ago from a company that does demolition and takes down properties for scrap value of metals and so forth. And that company did tell me that the property had changed hands within the last couple weeks. I haven't been able to confirm that, so I don't want to go too far. But the new owner, if it is true, has bought the property hoping that he will be able to move forward with tearing down the property the rest of the way and getting the scrap value from the property. But the new owner is looking to speak with the government agencies, which would be the EPA and the DEC, about a plan on getting the site cleaned up. No one company is going to be able to clean that up, nor is Broome County, or, you need somebody with very deep pockets to clean up a Superfund. And normally that comes from the federal government. But it looks like there's interest in at least getting that building to the ground, which is, we'd be happy with that because of the vagrant problems we have in there and the people going in and out of that building.
People either intentionally or unintentionally setting fires as they're trying to get scrap metal out of there.
Exactly. So we would be, at this point, I would love to see that building down and the site at least leveled.
10:49 at WNBF. The IBM Glen, that was suddenly foisted into the news on October 9th when WNBF.com reported the start of the construction of a solar project. Actually, they're two separate solar projects. They're going in on the property just to the east of the IBM Glen property. This is owned by, I believe, the Walsh family. Yeah. So tell us about that project for people who were unaware. It was not just approved this year. This had gone through the approval process a couple of years ago, and a public hearing was held, and then ultimately it did receive approval.
Yes. I can't go back to before I was in office again, but that project was approved in 2022. It was one of the first solar projects of any size approved in Broome County or in the town of Union. And the board did vote 3-2. It was a split vote or a controversial vote at the time to allow that project to be built. We were informed by our town attorneys, and this is me going back looking at the minutes of the meetings and so forth. We were informed at the time by our town attorneys that the way the New York State law is written, we've really lost local control on these projects. If a developer comes to the town and it passes the SECRA and 239 reviews, we can't stop it. So even if the board voted 5-0 against the project, we would have been sued and it would have gone through. The way the law is currently written, New York State has the final say on these solar projects. I did have just a brief conversation, actually a text conversation with Donna Lopardo recently about it, and Donna did tell me that she was against giving up local control on all these projects. But that is the reality of it. Again, when the state tells us a project meets environmental review, we can't stop it. So unfortunately, that project up there is going forward. And I will also mention that the Waterman Center, that is the custodian of that beautiful Glen area, were involved in the planning process. And the director of that group understood that while you don't want to see lots of trees cut down and property tore up like that, we also do have a need for cleaner energy. So there's a trade-off.
And that's what Chris Audette told me. He said, we hate to see the trees go, but he also acknowledges a real need for renewable energy. So it's one of those things as we move forward. We don't live in a perfect world. Not yet. We're striving for it. Also, though, at that site or on the property that is owned by the Walsh family, Homestead Development, they had been talking about the possibility of a battery storage facility. That had been brought before the town of Union regulatory people, or I believe probably the planning board. Whatever happened with that project for potentially battery storage on that site not far from the Glen?
I have to say that was before I was back on the board that most of that conversation took place. After I came back to the board, we did start a battery moratorium on commercial storage. It does not affect smaller residential battery storage for folks who put a solar panel on their roof or so forth. But large-scale battery storage right now in the town of Union is not going forward until we get a better understanding of what our fire departments need to know and what our community needs to know and the safety of these programs. I don't know how long we can hold the moratorium, but right now we're still under that moratorium.
So battery storage, at least on a large commercial scale, is not going to go forward right away in the town.
That's correct.
As far as additional solar projects, are additional solar projects in the pipeline in other parts of the town of Union?
As far as I know, we have 4 other projects that have been approved and are getting underway. There's one, a couple up off Boswell Hill Road in the town. There's another one up on top of off of East Main Road called Cott Road, and that project, I believe, they're ready to start breaking ground. It's been totally approved. There is a proposed solar project for the top of Reynolds Road, but that's got a long ways to go. The environmental study that the county had done first. We haven't completed ours yet, but the county study was not very positive in that project. So it remains to be seen whether it will get approved or not.
Cott Road, weren't they at one time talking about putting a housing development there?
Yes, that's my disappointment in some of these projects. Cott Road would have been a very, very nice housing project. Unfortunately, COVID came along and it fell through, and the developers ended up having to declare bankruptcy on the property up there. But it was already staked out. They had built a spec house up there, or a model home, not a spec home. They built a model home that people were going to be able to come up and look at and get an idea of the house that they would be getting built for them. Very disappointed that didn't happen as opposed to the solar. I'm not against solar, but the tax revenue from solar is nothing compared to what a housing development would have given us.
Town of Union Supervisor Rob Mack, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Bob.
10:55, you're listening to Binghamton Now, WNBF. Do it live. Let's do it live. 607-772-1290. I'm in the mood for some phone calls from listeners. 607-772-1290. All right, let's take a random call. Hi, random caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. Happy Friday. It's Dave from Vestal. How's it going?
Oh, hi, Dave. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Bob, you know, I just saw a spot on TV there. Bob, why won't Hillary go away? She keeps she keeps hanging around begging for relevancy. I told you about Madison Square Garden coming up Sunday. You know, you still have a chance to go, Bob. The invitation's still open, you know. Well, we could be back in time for the show on Monday. Anyways, Bob, she's comparing this Madison Square Garden rally to a Nazi meeting in the 1930s. Bob, isn't this calling Trump Hitler and all this Nazi stuff, isn't it kind of ridiculous? I mean, I got to hear you at least say that. No? You won't?
Let's see what the listeners think. Let's throw it out there. The listeners would know.
Well, after all, you know, Hitler was a communist, Bob, and it's kind of ironic that, you know, the left, they feel right at home with communistic ideologies and ideas. So it's pretty weird that they would do that because naturally we know where they're at. Bob, real quick, I know you hate polls. Washington Post poll.
Wait, don't throw, whatever you do, between now and noon, don't throw any polls out on the air. That's between now and noon, we don't want to talk about any poll.
Okay. How about Axelrod on CNN? Did you catch him, Bob? Harris had her town hall 2 nights ago, and he said, you know, he goes, whenever she's asked a question she doesn't want to answer, she heads to Word Salad City. Now, that's coming from Axelrod. Means a lot, doesn't it?
Well, we could ask the listeners. The listeners would know.
You're not very...
Well, let's see if Vinny from Binghamton, what would Vinny say?
Oh, I'll tell you, you know what? Vinny and Matt both, when they call, they never promote Harris, Bob. You notice that?
Because there's a bigger elephant in the room. So I understand. You know, ultimately, in the view of some people, David, the Republican candidate represents a clear and present danger. So that might explain why some people focus more on him and less on their candidate, because they're worried about what they perceive to be a clear and present danger.
Harris herself doesn't even promote herself out. She just attacks Trump. That's all.
Maybe because she thinks it's more important to focus on a clear and present danger as opposed to what ultimately, she can do. She'll show us starting at noon on January 20th what she can do. In the meantime, though, it'd be like, say, you're in a car out of control, heading westbound, 119 miles an hour. The driver is completely oblivious to how fast she's going. And you think, if continuing in this direction at this speed, we're eventually going to go off the cliff and then we're all going to die.
But no, I'll tell you how she's thinking real quick. I'll tell you how she's thinking. She goes, I know I'm not a good candidate. I know I'm not very confident, and I'm a dingbat, but aren't I still better than Trump?
Let's throw that out to the listeners. It sounds overly harsh, but then again, given the context, and certainly given the political rhetoric of the last few months, I guess that's about what I would expect. 607-772-1290, a kinder, gentler program. The kindness, the gentleness that is Binghamton Now.
Are you having...
All right, let's hit the lines. Let's hit them hard. Chris in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bob, on this crisp morning that it was. I'm just calling to say, Dave, I agree with you. Good job, sir. You have a good weekend. Bob, yourself. Try to stay warm.
Thank you, Chris. You too. Thanks for chiming in. Hope we hear from you next week.
All right, you will. Thanks, Bob. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Vic from the Forks, you're on.
Bob, it's always a pleasure to contribute to your show, and I'd like to say happy Saturday to everybody. I don't know if you're aware of the new law in New York and across the country that pertain to our court system. You can now plead one of three ways instead of two. Before it used to be guilty or not guilty. Now you can plead either not guilty, guilty, or Trump did it, with the latter getting you off completely.
Sounds good. I'm going for door number 3. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, really, this Hitler stuff and Trump's deranged and all that stuff, what a crock. What a desperate attempt by the Democratic Party to win an election. And I think it's going to be a blowout. I just simply think it's going to be a blowout. Kamala made the mistake of doing interviews with CNN and some other people, and she just tossed word salad out there.
No, I mean, she doesn't know how to do the weave. When you're speaking and making no sense, you got to do the weave.
The duck and the weave, yeah.
Yeah, the weave. That's what DJ does. DJT, when he gets all dazed and confused, he does the weave, or else he just tells the DJ to play more tunes. Play the YMCA.
Well, Bob, when you deny Christ publicly, and as she did, she's condemned to hell. So either way, we win.
Well, I don't know if our signal reaches there, but thanks to the app, probably. Carol in Johnson City, you're on. And we lost Carol. We lost Carol, we lost America. Joe from Greater Ithaca, you're on the air.
Yes. We have all these arguments with Trump and Harris and all that. We try to make logical arguments. Another guy just mentioned God, so I'll throw that in. God, environment, abortion, inflation, guns, et cetera. And I've done these arguments with different times.
Oh, and Kerry Lake.
Yeah, and I'm tired of that. And basically, I don't care. This way, I do care, and I want Harris to win. And I don't, as far as the reason is, I can't stand Trump. I can't stand the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he goes about things, his ideas, the whole bit. I don't care. If Harris wins, I don't care if gas goes to $20 a gallon. If the outside people invade Ithaca, they go around my house and screw around. That is just.
Your phone is breaking up a bit there. It sounds like the phone company, they must not like what you're saying. Yeah, we got the first part. Now it's all garbled. Can you get close to a window? Get close to a window to ungarble your line. No, sorry, Joe, there must be a problem, a phone problem in Greater Ithaca. So call back. Call back. We're getting a lot of calls. Suddenly the switchboard is flooded. Hi, WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Diane from Halstead.
Good morning, Diane.
Hi. I want to praise Dave from Vestal. Good for you. And let me tell you one thing about Harris. She is always saying, I'll make it clear. I'll make it clear. Now, do I sound like her? Because she does not know anything. And if people vote for her, they're going to get the same thing that's going on now. And let me tell you one other thing about her. She, what do I want to say? I'm so mad right now about this.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I know. I got to take a breath.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. Hold on. No, seriously, take a breath just to think about your thoughts, because I can understand that it's emotional.
Do you have children?
Sadly, no.
No. Okay, if you had a daughter and she was walking on a trail and somebody came up behind her and raped her and killed her, she's letting these people over the border that are doing this to people. How can you accept and want her as president? I want to hear from people. I want to hear from Democrats and Republicans. Call in right now. Call in and let us hear your opinion.
You mean right here on the program?
Yeah, let Democrats and Republicans call in. Let's hear what they have to say.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, it's a free-for-all. I'm saying it's a free-for-all. Everybody call. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob.
How'd you like that? How'd you like that? There's your wild and crazy right there.
Yeah. I know. It's
this is DJ from Binghamton. Welcome.
Yeah, it's a funny Friday today. A lot of throat clearing going on with me, too. I don't know why. But I wanted to give a shout-out to my good buddy, Recreation Park Ron, my friend. It was so good to hear your voice yesterday. Couldn't get to the phone in time, but I'm so happy that everything's okay with you. I went to the park a couple times to look for someone to see if there's, because the maintenance men are always like hanging around there and there's people around there, but it didn't work out. But he said it's been a year. I didn't even know that it was that long ago. But good to have you back, Ron. Keep calling, buddy. And we're having a good time on the radio, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's our big family. This is WNBF's big family.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a good weekend. It's beautiful, man. It's sunny skies, blue skies. DJ's on the phone. Ooh, that's
can't beat it, man.
It's a fall feat. It's a very big fall feat.
Enjoy your weekend.
You too. Have a good one. God bless.
1127 WNBF. More calls, more often. No end in sight. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Airport Road Bob. I heard you called for everybody to call in.
Yes, today, everyone.
So I wanted to, add a little, levity or humor, whatever, information, whatever I could provide today. So, Bob, people don't amaze what an amazing show you have. And, you must feel so lucky to have some of the world's greatest experts and mind readers and just dedicated people who they see the world through their colored glasses, and there's no stopping them. I wish more people would get involved with the local politics, go to their town meetings, see the facts for the facts, listen to the people that are sitting in the seats doing the jobs that we put them there to do, and get a real grip of reality. Just a couple of things. Again, great weekend. Hope everybody enjoys it. I heard a rumor that the Johnson City High School football team forfeited the rest of their games. Could you double check that real quick before you go off the air?
I'm not going to look into that, but if somebody from Johnson City School District wants to call to discuss that. I'm not going to work on that independently.
Nope.
I've got other fish to fry.
Okay.
I'm busy counting the number of onion slices on my quarter pounder with cheese.
Scrape the onions off.
No, I want onions. I went in the parking lot on my way in. I asked a couple other people who had quarter pounders with cheese if they would mind if I could have the onions. They said, sure, we don't want them. So I've got like a big heaping helping. I have like probably 3 or 4 standard helpings of onions in my quarter pounder with cheese. So I'm looking forward to a healthful lunch.
Do you know that's the only burger on their menu that they cook for you? Everything else all processed.
I know. That's why they send you off to the thing over. When you order that, they say, you go over there. And it's like, I feel ostracized. The first couple of times that they did it, I thought, oh, I must have said something wrong. And then they said, no, you have to go over there while we're actually cooking it.
And listen, find out what's going on with Carol. I saw her at the last Town of Union meeting. It was very good to see her. She hasn't been on much.
Yeah.
I know she's been busy, and make sure everything's okay with Carol.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
It's 11:29 here at WNBF with the most calls in America. All I do is listen. I'm Mr. Listen. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing today? Just
wait. Name, please. Name, hometown, social security number.
Yes. Tom from Endicott, New York.
All right. And give me the numbers of 2 major credit cards. Visa first.
I'll give you all my credit
Sounds like
numbers.
some sort of radio scam.
You can have all of them.
Anyway.
They already got all my money anyway.
I was going to say, government took all your money anyway. Nothing left to lose.
Exactly. You know how it goes. I'm just wondering. I'm asking myself a lot of questions today. What's keeping people from realizing what's happening right in front of their faces? But it seems like they're about to start calling people that want this country to be great again terrorists. I'm waiting for that.
Well, maybe they need to come up with a different color hat. Maybe the red color is scaring people. Maybe they think it stands for bloody insurrection. I mean, if there's going to be another insurrection, maybe we need something like purple, soothing. Everybody loves purple.
Right. Well, hey, they're one of their main perfectionists. One of the things they perfected is lopping their own crimes onto the other person first, and whoever points that finger first is usually the one people remember. Do you know what I mean?
Well, did Kamala Harris get convicted of 34 felonies yet? I mean, she has only X number of hours between now and November 5th to start racking up the convictions.
Right. Well, hey, I doubt it because look, James Comey listed like 60 of Hillary's, and then just said, but
Hillary's not on the ballot. Hillary isn't on the ballot. Carrie Lake is.
I'm using that as an example. Just using that as an example. I think they don't like red because, like I said, they like to switch things, and I think they
like red only on pizza. Only on pizza from Baldwin Street.
Yeah. Exactly. It's got to be nice and runny too.
Nice and juicy. With all the best toppings. Thank you very much. 11:32. This is Bob Joseph, lending an ear during these difficult times. Isn't it nice that you can reach out to a real human being and have him listen carefully to your concern? That's what I'm about. I'm Bob, your friend. I'm on your side. On WNBF.
Embrace.
We welcome back to the program the Reverend Damon Wilson from Trinity AME Zion Church on Oak Street. I love Oak Street. I drive by every once in a while. as in probably at least 2 or 3 times a week. So sometimes if you see somebody who looks like me, just wave.
All
yeah.
right.
Hey, thanks for coming in. You have a special event that you want people to know about that'll be taking place tomorrow here in Binghamton.
Yes. So tomorrow, Saturday, at 11:30 at Salvation Temple Church, located on Main Street, we're having a special event. We wanted to bring the community together to help encourage not only voter registration but also voting. We wanted to take a moment to make full use of what is called Golden Day. For those who do not know what that is, it's the day where you're able to actually register to vote and vote on the same day. And it's going to be a wonderful event. We have a worship service for the first part of it from 11:30 to 1, and then after that, we have food, fun, and fellowship. So what we're inviting people to come out, have a good meal, but also for those who are not registered to vote, to register, and for those who want to take advantage of early voting, that's also the first day of early voting. We'll provide rides to the public library to help people vote. So we're just wanting to spread the word, and just want to say that, come out and support and make sure that you have your vote counted.
And I see the Coalition of Black Pastors from Broome County has organized this special voter registration event.
Yes. So we have Salvation Temple, who is hosting the event. We have Cornerstone Community Church. We have New Fellowship. We have also Mount Sinai Kojic Church and a host of others, House of Worship, all coming together to help bring their congregations together, but also bring the community together so that we can do what is our civic duty and vote.
And I see this is designed, it's not just for one specific age group or just people from certain backgrounds. It's for everyone.
It is for everyone. And, all people are invited, all race, creeds, ages, everyone, because we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to vote. We know that sometimes it's hard for people to kind of get out of their house, and we know that some people are not familiar with absentee ballots. So, we wanted to create a one-stop shop. So you can just come, worship with us for the first part of the day, and then get out and vote.
And I also note that transportation will be provided if people want to go to the polling site.
Yes. So the Broome County Urban League has been so generous to help us with transportation. So we actually have a bus that will be transporting people from the church to the public library so that they can cast their ballot.
So this will start at 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And continue for several hours.
Yes, because again, we want to keep the doors open. So for those who may be in the neighborhood or just passing by and you say, you know what, I haven't registered to vote, or hey, I need to vote, this is your chance to do it. So we are providing everything you need. And also, too, it makes it a little bit better is that you can leave with a meal. So that always helps.
Yeah, that never hurts. Again, it's at Salvation Temple Church. It's 80 Main Street. That's the church at Main and Walnut Street.
Yes.
So if you're familiar, it's just a little bit to the west of Binghamton High School. It's about a block or so away from the Masonic Temple building. So if people are trying to imagine we're on Main Street, it's at Main and Walnut.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add?
Just, making sure that it's, I want to emphasize the importance of voting. There have been a lot of struggles in the past as far as, preventing people from the opportunity to vote. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that there are no roadblocks. There are no situations where people feel like they're not able to vote. So again, we're providing food, we're providing the information that you need. So just come out, fill out your registration form if you're not registered, and then allow us to take you on our bus to go vote.
Sounds like fun for everyone.
It is, and we're excited. It should be a beautiful day, maybe a little chilly, so bring a coat. But, for the most part, it's going to be a great event.
Reverend Damon Wilson from Trinity AME Zion Church on Oak Street. Thank you very much for being with us. Hope you have a great weekend.
All right, thank you.
It's 11:42 at News Radio WNBF.
All right, crew, let's get her dug. Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
WNBF.
I'm Joseph, live on WNBF. Let's take some calls, shall we? Let's hit those lines really hard. Jesse from Owego, good morning. You're on the air.
Boy, 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 it's been a lot of fun this morning, Bob. I couldn't believe the feed that came over my phone. It was on Forbes News, and Bill Clinton apparently had said out loud that Carrie Lake is physically attractive. Do you think he crossed the line? Because, I mean, you don't ever want to cross Hillary.
I hope he's okay.
I don't know. He might end up on a milk carton. I mean,
He's still, as a former president, though, he still is afforded protection by the Secret Services.
I would hope so, because otherwise he's going to end up on a milk carton. It's like, but, you know, personally, I think Carrie Lake is a little too old for him. Last I knew, he liked interns.
Oh. Well, with that in mind, I hope you have a great weekend.
Oh, I sure will. But why didn't he say Kamala Harris was physically attractive? So that's got to hurt.
No, because then he would have... No, I can't say it. See, you don't want trouble. You don't want trouble in the final 15 minutes of the week. So, you know what you were thinking. Martin in Binghamton, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I'm with Ron all the way, and good luck, Ron. I've been there before, you know, probably not to the depths of your problem, but anyway, God bless, and hope you come back, because you're one of the most, if not the most articulate person on the show. You know, they keep talking about, all you watch in the news is that it'll come down to 7 swing states making the difference. So, you know, and it's a little oriented theocracy district in Nebraska, a sprawling country. Which the old golden rule, the rule is the further apart you are, the more likely you are to be Republican. So it'll come down to that. So why should I vote? Why should I vote if it's going to come down to that? You know, and the Electoral College, you know, I'll vote local, but I'm really sitting on the fence about not voting for that, even though I despise the, right on the front page here, you know, this Hitler-loving man here, you know. But, the more I think about it, the more I watch, it's like, you know, they're cornering these 7 states and these little districts coming, and where's it going to come down to? It's BS. You know, this is a big country. And, you know, and about the Electoral College, you know what? About the populations, well, just too bad. I mean, you know what? If we control the weather, well, why don't you come? Why don't you come to California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas? You know, get out of Florida, get out of those Georgia, get out of those states, because it's just going to keep coming. You know, that's where it's at. You know, so I'm in the camp of Ron. We've been robbed before by the Electoral College, but there's 7 swing states, and there's been studies that it might come down to a little district in Nebraska. So and it'll be a theocratic fascist government. Because
where in the U.S.?
Definitely.
No.
Yeah,
oh, Martin, please. It won't. Will it? Could it?
Present danger.
Well, yeah, but the American people would not allow that.
Well, he'll have the power. He's going to put. He's going to put. He's got the Supreme Court. That's another thing. They hope it comes down to this. Let it just go. That's his plan. Just let it go, and it'll come down to these little districts. It'll come down to the swing states, and then he'll fight it. Take it to the Supreme Court.
Oh, and then you're saying the Supremes will select him, even over the will of the American people?
Oh yes, Florida again. Florida.
Well, then, if that happened, then the Supreme Court justices might need to be impeached.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. They have too much power.
Well, let's keep our finger crossed and hope for the best. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Everybody have a good weekend, and also God bless Ron. Take care, brother.
Thanks, Martin. 1148 WNBF, the station that cares about you. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. Good morning. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Hey, good morning. Our lines have been jammed.
Yeah, I see that. I said, boy, I got busy and canceled there one time. I said, okay, the phones are phone. Boy, so many people I want to answer, but I love to say something to the one caller about asking if we have a daughter or if you had a daughter. I do, and I'm gonna say that for later. Because what I really wanted to talk about was one more border thing. Dave, as far as David Axelrod goes, I talked about him months ago. He's not a favorite of mine. He's still back in the beginning of Barack Obama, and I see what he's doing and how he is on the program. So I don't think anything about that. But you know what, though? I do have to say this, Bob. At one time when it came to the border, I thought I was smart. I thought I was smart as Dave, is when it comes to the border issues and what's going on down there. But you know what I did? I wanted to find out more what was going on the border. So I've been doing research and looking up this border bill that was turned down and how much stuff is in there. And it made me realize I wasn't as smart as I thought I was on this border. I really, truly am not as smart as I was on this border. But each day I read this, I become more informed on what's going on down on our southern border. And I feel full, Bob, because now I can come on with a reasonable statements about what's going on the border, because I'm finding out that these 3 congressmen and women, actually these 3 senators, know a hell of a lot more about what's going on the border than I do. So for Dave and all you that want to talk this border bill and want to blame this person, why don't you, this nice weekend that we're going to have, why don't you go look it up? Why don't you go see what's in that border bill so you can become more enlightened than being stuck in neutral like some of these other callers that have never, ever read a part of this bill. Does that make sense, Bob?
Well, seems like it makes sense to me, but what about other listeners who don't get it? No, they might not get the point.
Well, my point is just go look it up.
Oh, I know.
Always,
not just on this topic, on all topics.
Yeah, you don't have to
look it up.
Yep. And when someone says, "Well, as I think it was Roger," when you said after I told you what those people were, you said, "Well, if they had fixed the border, we wouldn't have those many people." That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
That's what all this. That's what all. I mean, we have 15 million coming. Bob, can I just say it? If we have 15 million people coming, illegal aliens, if we have 15 million coming in a day, how are we going to fix that? Shut the borders. That's not how it works, guys.
All right.
That's not how it works. Okay.
Appreciate the call.
Have a good weekend.
You too. 11:52. This is the Good Weekend station. If you want to have a good weekend, stay tuned to Binghamton Now. Let's take another call, shall we? You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Welcome.
Hey, Bob, you have gravitas, and they don't call you a fascist.
And they don't call me a communist.
Okay, they don't call you that because when you have gravitas, that means you're serious and pragmatic. And Trump is like that. He doesn't yell into the microphone like Kamala and Hillary.
Yeah, but what about Carrie Lake? How come we don't? And where is Carrie Lake anyway? I know where Keuka Lake is and Seneca Lake. I can't find Carrie Lake.
That's a good question. You got me on that one, Bob. Carrie Lake, all I know is West Windsor Lakes.
Nice lakes. All right, well, I hope you have a good weekend.
Okay, so the only time I've ever heard you yell into the microphone is we're going live. That's when you yell.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes somebody has to do it live because, if you don't do it live,
You've got gravitas, and you're not a fascist.
Thank you.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Thank you so much. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. This is Diana from the South Side.
Good morning.
Good morning. I had to call this in because this is just too important. I don't know if you get Medicare.
I think I get something. I think. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. What I meant was, if you get your you get your book in the mail.
Oh, yes. I got a big book.
Okay. Well, I hope you're not just using it to stick under a table to balance it out, because you really got to read what's going on. This is just too important. I got that book in the mail along with the updated what we're going to do to you from, I have WellCare, what's going to happen in January. And this is terrible. So I'm a cancer patient. You know that. And come to find out, the new changes are they're not going to cover rides to and from your doctors or hospital. If you're going for testing or appointments, they're no longer going to give you a ride. Wow. What are we supposed to do here?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me.
Right. Yeah. So I went over to Broome Oncology. I told them, hey, do you know about this? They had no idea either.
Well, that's terrible.
I know. And it's not the only insurance plan that's doing it. I have WellCare, Dual Access, HMOD, SNAP, SNP rather. And I spent 3 hours on the phone with, the woman was lovely from WellCare, and she says, well, you're pregnant. So I was all upset, stressed out, who wouldn't be, and looked into the Medicare, the book and all that, checked it all out. There isn't a better plan than what I have.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Well, you're right. Got to look into that book and pay attention to all the details. Well, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, but
right.
There's more to this.
Well, yeah, well, unfortunately, we're out of time. We're wrapping up.
I'm
I hope you have a good weekend. Give me a call next week.
Too.
Thanks.
No, thanks. Yep. Sure. Bye-bye.
And that is all the time we have. Thank you for spending your time this week with Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph. Enjoy your weekend. I'll be back Monday morning on WNBF.